of change up in format tonight. We've got a new sexy table. Basically, we're changing the format, so we're going to be, Will and I, will be chatting through some different bits and bobs, and then we'll be, keeping this recording, putting it out as a bit of a podcast. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll have some exciting guests. How's your week been this week, Will?
Yeah, it's been alright. Look, it's getting busy. Weather's gotten a little bit worse for wear as well.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair.
So it's one of those one of those weeks. Just glad it's Friday.
Yeah, me too. We'll start off with that. Should we crack open one of the beers to start with from Rock Leopard?
Yeah.
So we had Stacey from Rock Leopard in this week, which was really nice to meet him. Never met him before. He's a gypsy brewer who's worked with loads of really cool different breweries, mostly Cloudwater recently. And we are trying, what are we trying today? Well, Chunk of Change.
Chunk of Change, which is their session IPA, so 4.2%. Yeah, let's just get into it. It's 5 o'clock now, so.
Yeah, so we were talking to Stacey about a potential collab. He came up with the amazing name of Thames Mead.
Yeah, I did see that, which is just, I'm kind of annoyed we just didn't already have that. It's one of those ones where it's like, it's pretty obvious.
I know. So for those of you who don't know, Thames Mead is an area of London not very far away from where we are. Obviously, Thames Mead kind of lends itself to that.
It's just frustrating. But oh well.
Exactly. It's been absolutely gopping wet today. Do you ever use the phrase gopping wet? No. Anyway,
no.
It's soaking.
I don't think anybody does.
Anyway, it's been absolutely soaking today. So we have been busy in the brewery, but a little bit damp. What do you think of this? This is delicious, actually. Sorry,
I didn't even start with that. That's my nose there.
Yeah.
As session IPAs go,
it's a little bit, isn't it?
It's quite malty, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more malt forward than I was expecting. It is a little bit older than what you would want. I can't remember what the package date is there. Yeah, so that's kind of the end of the start of this year.
Yeah. So
it's
started to drop off a little bit in the hops,
but actually, to be honest with you,
it's not bad.
Stito's not bad. It hasn't really gone that cardboardy, especially 6 months.
And it's Friday, and that is tasting, well, for me, that's delicious. It's just what I needed. So guys, as we go through, if you've got any questions, do shout, and we will endeavour to answer any questions. But otherwise, we'll just finish off this beer, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah, that's it.
So we're going to talk a bit about what we've been up to this week, and then we'll talk a little bit more about our small batch program, which we've just launched.
Yeah, which is going quite well.
Yeah.
Now it comes to the business end where I have to start making stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's exciting, isn't it?
It's good starting off at like 5 litre batches and then going, okay, now I'm going to do 200-300 and finding out what just doesn't work as you scale up. So
yeah. So what else are we up to this week, Rob?
So this week we did some brewing in-house. So the boys have been busy in the brewery.
What have we made?
We did hop this week. So we did a new batch of hops going out, and we'll be packaging that next week.
So we've got a big packaging run coming up in a couple of weeks out in the West Country, so we've just been building up the liquid to be sent out to be packaged.
What else are we doing this
week?
We
sent some stuff to Hawks for Canada.
Yeah.
So we're doing a collab with Hawks, which is a cidery just around the corner in Bermondsey, actually. So we did, we sent some liquid last month, which they're blending together with, what is it, the Davenet?
Yeah, Davenet.
And
that is some funky, tannic Davenet, and this is, it's exciting.
So the second batch was going to camp. So really excited to have a small batch. So if you want to get your hands on that at home, that should be easier to do.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see how they come in cans.
Yeah.
Yeah, first.
We got the can
size on.
First size. Yeah, I think so. I don't know if anyone else has done a size in the UK recently.
There's the Jack Rat.
Yeah, there was a Jack Rat. There was a Jack Rat and Line Bay in camp, exactly. Which that was tasting alright.
I didn't get any chance to taste that.
Yeah, I think it wasn't a massive rub, but yeah. So guys, we're going to continue rambling, but do jump us on the Instagram live and let us know if you've got any questions or if we're talking absolutely rubbish.
Or you just want to dare Tom to do something.
Yeah, I mean within reason, anything recorded. James is just giggling in the background, so
James isn't here.
So at the moment we're just tasting this Rock Leopard Chunk of Change, which is their session IPA. Absolutely delicious. Good to get us going on a Friday night.
Just oats or is that lactose?
Not sure.
Yeah, just oats. It's got a pretty decent mouthfeel. I quite like that.
Yeah. What else apart from work have you been doing this week, Will?
Oh man, I've been killing it at the old home life.
It's good to hear.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things like.
What's killing it look like?
It's surprising the missus coming home with things laid out and run a bath on a hard day, movie style stuff.
Exactly.
This is what people made. No idea.
What have you been doing?
So I did some sticky pork belly, but my girlfriend's vegetarian, so I did an alternative version as well, which was with shiitake mushrooms. So it's like a honey soy glaze, corn flour on the shiitakes, quick fry, and then just nice simple like garlic and.
That sounds good. With rice or like what was that?
Yeah, with rice, and then sticky with a little bit of like spring onions over the top and some what are those, sesame seeds.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just nice getting the big wok out and doing all that and caramelising some honey.
Yeah, that's good. I haven't cooked anything with honey this week. What have I been doing? I've got some new Ottolenghi's flavour, the new cookbook,
yeah,
classic.
Yeah.
But it's really cool because like the flavour combinations in that are really diverse, from like picking up some Asian cuisine, some Middle Eastern stuff, some classic flavours, and just kind of meld them all together. So I did a big roasted cauliflower thing last night. It was really delicious. So I've just got the iPad here just so we can keep an eye on the questions.
There's a question now.
Yeah. What else have I been up to this week? Have you drunk anything good this week?
What did I have this week? We had some wild beers on the weekend.
Oh, we did have some wild beers on the weekend.
That was
the
decent.
highlight of that?
For me, I kind of the new cool ship and pretty cool ship
that
is
was pretty good.
it's just always nice. Like I really like a good mixed fermentation beer. But yeah, the other one was the Tapache was pretty cool. Like that was super pineapple. Like,
So that's a pineapple beer, right? Or was it?
No, it's like a just fermented alcoholic pineapple drink.
There's no malt in that.
So no, it's just I don't know how
They made it.
I don't know actually how they made it. So usually it's done with sugar and pineapple. We did one not long ago with with honey and pineapple and did like a wild fermented Tapache.
Yeah, Hector's got an article on the blog about that.
Yeah. I think there's a video up there as well. I've been going through that. I was at the ginger beer one. I know we did quite a lot.
We did quite a lot over lockdown, didn't we? We'll have to get back into
But
it.
that was really surprising. Like when we got it, the pineapple's a bit more green. With this, the pineapple was just like super tropical and forward. But then what did I have? I don't know if I bought the rosé, but
I had a big bottle of Burgundy for lunch on Saturday. Which is good. I haven't done that in a while. I've been out for lunch. Big bit of beef.
Like a
big
big-
bit of
boozy lunch.
Yeah. That was fun. Anyway, should we get into some tasting and talk about a bit more about the bottles on the table? So we've got quite a range here. So tonight we thought we'd talk about our small batch program. So if you haven't seen it, there's a link on our Insta and elsewhere for our crowdfunder. So we're launching this new program called Join the Hive. And that's where it's a new subscription service where we're going to bottle? No, we're not going to bottle. We're going to can, crucially, we're going to can a different mead each month. And you can subscribe and you get 4 of those special meads. And the idea is it kind of gives us a platform for experimentation and doing all the cool, funky shit that we do in the brewery and putting it into can.
Yeah, it just gives us the ability to package something in an easier format as well and be able to do it in-house and have a little bit more control and get some of these like ultra weird batches out, which I'm looking forward to.
Cool.
Some of the challenges as well, like I'm looking forward to figuring out how to nitro dose and things.
That's cool. So, the idea is that how big will the runs be? Like 200-300 litres?
Yeah, maximum 300 litres. I think that's all I really
so about 1,000 cans. So if you say 1,000 cans a month, something special. Once they're gone, they're gone. It's pretty exciting. And so we're going to taste through some of the kind of different bits, some of the stuff we put in bottle, some of the more experimental stuff that we've had to go at. Should we get into it?
Let's go for it. So let's start.
Where do you
want to start? You want to start barrels first?
Maybe start traditional. James, do you have a bottle opener? This is the crucial thing. You always forget a bottle opener, or a sharp implement that we can skewer ourselves with on camera.
Sorry about it, James.
Oh, this is how you know you're a pro, is when you can just make it happen.
All right, let's get into it. I'm gonna have to wash my hands
as well.
I thought that would do a bit better. So. And by the way, just not tipping it on the floor, there is a drain back here. If you
If you hit the drain.
You hit the drain.
Anyway, so this is our traditional mead. So when was this made? Well, what's the story behind it?
So this was made in 2017.
Ooh, 2017.
2017. And it was in barrel for 2 years. So this is a 12%, a traditional orange blossom.
Why do you call it traditional? Well,
it's a traditional method. Pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. It's a classic style, right? So
yeah.
I think when you're thinking of mead, this is kind of our kind of.
Yeah, and I'd say traditional with this as well. Traditionally, you get a lot sweeter and you go back sweeten, but it's a traditional fermentation method, but unback sweetened. So this is bone dry and over oxidized. So it was in barrel for 2 years, I think.
Wow, so
2 years.
It should have really picked up some of that oaky flavour.
Picked up enough of the oak to the point where it sort of went over oaked at the start and then sort of just nicely curved back in. It's just picked up some of those. There's a little bit of almond in there, a little bit of walnut, a little bit of spice. The alcohol's dropped off, which is nice. So you don't get too much of the alcohol, kind of like you would on a sherry, where it's just a little bit in the front part of that.
Yeah, and we all know how much I enjoy a sherry.
Love a good sherry.
Love a sherry. Me and every grandmother out there. Thinks it's the
I like a sherry too. I like a port as well. Like there's something about those sort of I probably prefer a dry sherry than a sweet sherry.
Yeah,
there's something about
dry
those
sherry.
sweet fortifiers.
Oh wow, that is pretty special, isn't that? So it's really the oak's really smooth out on the edges. The aging, I think that's the thing with higher ABV, more traditional styles. You want to age out the mead. So why is that? Is that because of the stress of the yeast, or?
No, it's allowing those sort of high alcohol to start reacting with the polymers in the wood.
Right.
So, and then there's a biochemical reaction, then you'll create all these different sort of compounds and you'll produce a pretty interesting flavour.
So it is about smoothing out the edges. So
yeah.
It's less spiky. I was thinking shapes. So less spiky and kind of smoother.
Yeah, it's less spiky, more smooth, or it's just a little bit less peaky. So it's always just going to jump as it goes through your palate, but it's just not going to have this one bit where it's like, like a whiskey sometimes can have that front push of alcohol and then you have to adapt your palate to it. This kind of makes the alcohol a little bit more round, a little bit more warming instead of shocking.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's pretty special actually.
This is aging really well.
That is beautiful.
So with 2 years in oak, you're going to get like those pheno sherry sort of characteristics. It's going to have that sort of little bit of spice, a little bit of nut. But yeah, this is actually one of the better ones.
You've quite large measures here.
It's Friday.
It is Friday, isn't it?
Well, we opened up the bottle. We can't.
We opened up the bottle. We're going to have to finish it. Maybe not on camera, but who knows? See how it goes. Got quite loose last week. I did get some comments. Was it last week? The week before last.
That's what we have to post by the next week.
Exactly. We did get a little bit loose.
That was alright. We don't. 2 bottles there. There's no way that was not getting drunk.
No, exactly. It was so delicious. This was we did a tasting of our vintage last week, so that is it's kind of flagship. What we do, the mead we make every year with the same honey from the same hives, and it's just delicious, isn't it?
Yeah, and just being able to, we've been doing it long enough now that we can almost do a vertical tasting, which is kind of, we've been waiting for this for so long, being able to start that idea and go like, cool, yeah, and then already looking like, I can't wait till 5 years in the future, we've got 5 of them next to each other, we can sit down and drink it. It's such a long process. Yeah,
but it's cool, and that's one of the things. I think that's kind of, for me, mead is halfway between. Well, it's his own thing, right? But it's not. It's brewing in some respects. Some of the stuff we do. It's also a lot like winemaking, right? Yeah. There is that kind of fusion of techniques,
and that little touch to the environment and land as well, which
you get from the wine, right? So the honey being that terroir.
When I made wine, like that was my favourite part. Like just actually working on the grapes and doing the viticulture.
Yeah.
And the actual, winemaking, when you think about it, is like so stressful and intense. It's 1 month in a year or however big your harvest is or your vintage. But 90% of the other time is just looking after these plants, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's the best part of it. And I guess, if I was a beekeeper, I'd say the same thing. It's like, you look after your bees all the time, you only pull your honey out once a year and you make your mead and off you go.
I mean, what is that? That's not...
So that's picked up a little bit of stone fruit in there as well. Yeah. So it's quite creamy. It's got a little bit of walnut. there's
But it's
a
not.
little
So,
touch of
I was just
citrus.
looking at the ABV, so it's 12%, but you wouldn't notice it was 12%.
I remember packaging this from the barrel and doing exactly that, right?
Yeah.
The first tasting, I was like, it's like 9 o'clock in the morning, and usually you're like, oh, God, great, yeah, cool, let's get through this. And I had that, and I was like, this is what I wish like bourbon would taste like. It's got the sweetness, even though it's dry, it's got the sweetness that like bourbon has when it pulls through, but then like it hit your mouth, and the front of it's all these bourbon characteristics, you know, vanilla, a little bit of spice, a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of honey. And then instead of getting that nice like alcohol burn that you get from bourbon at the back that makes you shiver, like this was just creamy and ended really nicely, super long, and I was like, that's kind of what I wish bourbon was.
That's cool. Yeah, it's really exciting. I mean,
I've got to spot my heart for this one.
yeah, I would say like a lot of things we make if you're really into booze, it's exciting, right? So I think there's a reference point for this. Where you're like, it's a bit like that, but it's very different.
That drinks really, really well.
It does drink really, really well. Should we move on to the next one?
Yeah, I think let's stay with the on the barrel side for a little bit.
Okay.
So we've got some here. So I think
Plum
with a B.
Obviously, and mango Scotch Bonnet. Interesting.
So let's go with the Plum first.
So let's talk to what is this?
So this is the same base as we just had, actually. It is. Yeah. So it's the same base as what we had for the old traditional, but instead what we did was we did it.
But it's obviously not been aged as long.
No. So this is barrel fermented, 12% orange blossom honey, semi-sweet wine yeast, like a dessert wine yeast. And then it's been fermented in the barrel for about 2.5 weeks, and then it's been barrel aged for about just over 6 months. So, and these are first fill bourbon barrels as well. So the bourbon characteristic at the start was scary.
Well, I think just
it was just like because inside, like when you get the nice bourbon character inside the barrel, that means there's bourbon in the barrel as well.
Yeah.
So it starts to pull that out of the wood, and first off, it was just like. What you don't want in a mead was those like high alcohol straight in your face. Yeah. And I was like, okay, cool. We really maybe should have done like a boucher or something in that, something a lot sweeter instead of going for the plain dry traditional.
Yeah, because there's not much to hide, so the sweetness often cover up some of those higher alcohols.
And I was like,
carry them through, but
and then allows them to be a little bit less shocking to the palate as well. But then we decided like let's run these out and then fruit them. So we let them sit for about 6 months. We did a little piece, I think, for on our social media, but
yeah, on the stories, yeah.
We sat down at about 6 months, poured them out, and said, all right, let's try to pick some fruit, let's try to pick some bases for these, and see how we can lift the characteristics come out of it. So one barrel, we had 2 barrels that were running. One barrel we did with where we stressed the yeast under pitching,
right,
and then just really tried to slow it down, cooler temperature, fermentation took longer. Less yeast, and just really try to stress it and keep it just chewing through slowly. The other one we actually overpitched, and then we got that to run super quick and just chew through all the sugars as fast as possible, produce a whole lot of high alcohols,
right.
And then hopefully with the barrel aging process, those will start to break down over time. So we sort of let that go, and then we decided on whole plums. So the other thing was like, do we go purees? Do we go juice? Not extract, but you know what happened?
Extracted. Because all this time I can give you.
Yeah.
You know what? Just put some vanilla.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. It's just some of those ones from Lidl. You know,
the red food guy. Caution that. No, sorry, I digress.
And so we decided, what fresh fruit we're going to, like, what type of fruit we're going to use in the first place. Then how do we want to apply it? So we ended up going with plums, and we just bought whole plums, cut them, froze them, and then just started popping them into
I had a plum this week. First time in about a decade I've had a plum.
Yeah,
I never eat fruit.
Since this, I've actually started buying them all the time now.
Exactly, I had some and I was like, oh, they're brilliant. Yeah.
The other thing that I noticed, I haven't had a peach for a very long time, which is why I really want to do the peach mead for the...
I can't like peach. Harder rather than soft.
I find that with all my fruit.
Yeah.
Like, I like it to the point where it's just a little bit more sour. So nectarines, by the way, like, they are horrible as soon as they're not, like, as hard as an apple. Yeah, my girlfriend doesn't agree.
I'm not sure. I think you need a bit of salt in that, right?
But sorry, back to this.
Sorry. Yeah. Well,
this is
into our lives.
But so we ended up going with whole plums, cut them up, put them in the freezer. The freezer helps, explode the cell wall, it makes the sugars more accessible. And then we punch it into the barrel. So that's the other thing. So instead
it's a bit like cooking it without degrading any of the stuff.
Yeah,
Just break
really
much
down.
up. Yeah, exactly.
Just allow those sugars just to be a bit more freely absorbable by the.
So on the nose, yes, it's a similar nose to the traditional rye, I would say, but a little bit more muted, potentially.
Yeah, it's a little less of that almond, a little less of that. That's a lot more vanilla. Just a little less of that, the oxidization as well, right? So you're talking about 6 months oxidizing.
That's fun, isn't it?
The other thing is, we also wanted this to be not a traditional melomel, so not like a 50 or a 40%.
So melomel is a fruited mead.
We didn't want it to be a full melomel, where it's like, deep red plum and you put your nose into it, plum hits you. I really like in these traditionals to have just that little hint that comes in the back of it.
So you just almost highlighted some of those aspects of that honey, right?
And that's it. And like, we get a lot of stone fruit, we get a lot of pear, we get a lot of apple, and I think just a little bit of a fruit addition just pulls that out instead of covering all that work that the fermentation has done with a big chunk of fruit.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And there's a different yeast that goes with that, right? So I really like the phenols in this yeast, and I don't want to cover it with too much fruit.
Yeah. I mean, on the nose, it's not saying it's a little bit lighter than the previous, right? So
yeah, it's their FGs are around about the same. Acid profile around about the same.
What's the ABV?
13.5.
Oh, it's even stronger.
Yeah, but the fruit representation.
Yeah.
So I'll do a test on that afterwards, but it's around about 13.
We've got all the old Gosnells. We've got Ian on the line, and we've got Ted. So hi guys.
How we
Thanks for joining. Wish you could be here. If you guys, if you have any questions as we go through, just jump in. We are more than happy to talk about anything. Yeah, it's really
not only that. The FG is about the same, and I know we picked up a little bit of sugar, but not enough to be. That's made the acid profile a lot more balanced. With this, the acid's a little bit more forward, so a bit more like a white wine style acid. This is way more balanced.
Yeah, I mean, this is. But I mean, if you're saying it's 13.5%, this doesn't taste like it.
The coolest thing about it is the nose is so different from the body.
Yeah.
The nose, you're picking up all that bourbon. There's a nice little rounded sort of sweetness. There's vanillins. There's a little bit of winter spice. A little bit of fruit, a little bit of stone fruit in the background.
Just
oh man,
that's really cool.
That's come up way better. Way better than I expected. I was kind of thinking we might need to do another fruit addition, but the sweetness levels picked up, the mouthfeel as well. That's the thing with using whole fruit as well, and we'll get to that when we do the mango. Because when you ferment mead out, for all the mead brewers out there, the hardest thing is to keep that roundness, that mouthfeel that comes through.
Yeah, it can go quite good.
We're going down to 0.995 here.
So that's the specific gravity, so the density of it. So less dense than water, right? And that's the kind of.
And this is actually not terrifyingly acidic.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you get a lot of the bourbon character on the nose, but then it hits the body and it's almost sweet, it's warming, it's long, a little bit tannic.
I get the peach, the plum right at the end, not peach. The plum right at the end, like it comes. But I guess that's the thing I always find when we're tasting stuff.
Nice.
If you say that tastes plum, I always get plum. If you say that's it.
Exactly. And that's kind of the idea with these as well. It's like they're meant to be subtle, but you really just have to search a little bit to find it. And the next one you don't have to work as hard. But
this is a bit more smacking around the face.
This is I don't know. So a Capsule is a mead with.
I love the name.
Is it Capsule? Is it a capsicum? Like a
capsicum?
Is it any form of capsicum?
I imagine so. They're all the
so
same.
You could do one that isn't hot and still called a Capsule, or does it have to be a chili mead?
I mean, I don't know the rules. We could just edit them.
Get kicked off your Wikipedia account again.
Oh, again. I keep just posting my own biography.
Just keep telling people your Billy Ray Cyrus has lost some.
Yeah.
Just
leave that one there. Cool. So this is what is this? This is
so the other one that we did. So when we were doing the tasting of the barrels,
Scotch Bonnet.
Yeah, this is Scotch Bonnet.
Yeah.
So when we did the barrels, we did one plum, and then the other one needed a little bit of fruit, but also needed just a little bit more depth. So the plum one almost tasted a little bit like lemon drizzle cake. It had this yogurty sort of profile with it.
Oh, okay, yeah, I get that. And I maybe like a not lemon meringue pie, but that kind of creamy.
Yeah. And you wanted something that's like, and that's where we ended up going with stone fruit. Something that's going to stand up on its own and be quite different to that flavour profile. And the other one was a little bit more of the high alcohols, picked a bit more of the bourbon up. So I just really wanted to, and that was the one that we did the fermentation a lot quicker and a lot more acid. So what we wanted to do was create that mouthfeel a bit more, which is why we chose mango. So mango or banana when you add it to drinks in lower quantities, you don't really get the characteristic of the mango come through, but you get that mouthfeel come through from the flesh. And same as you do with banana. When you put banana into your fermentation, you're not necessarily doing it for the banana flavour as much as you are for the mouthfeel from the banana.
Interesting. Sorry, I've just had a whiff of that, and it's taken me. You know, you must get this when you have a smell that takes you to a place and a memory, and this is like mango daiquiris in Key West, like one summer, just like smashed up. Anyway, but nice blackened fish, spicy blackened fish.
The other thing that's really that I'm picking up again was that it also had a really earthy tone to the traditional style.
Yeah.
So
which one was the one that we did quickly, and which one was the one?
This one was the one that we did quickly, and the plum was the one that we did a little bit slower. Yeah. So that's what we needed to help balance out the acid a little bit, and also just give it a bit more character because we didn't allow the yeast. We didn't allow it in the barrel long enough to break down those phenols, so it was still a little bit of high alcohols in there. Didn't have enough time. You need another year or something.
Right. So
we decided to sort of bypass that by pumping in some stuff that's got some high sort of high flavour profiles in there.
Yeah.
So it's Scotch Bonnet and mango.
And so for those of you who don't know, we're based in Peckham, so south east London. There's a really vibrant West African community. So if you go down Peckham Rye Lane, Scotch Bonnets and mangoes.
Yeah, I think
mangoes are in season at the moment. So whenever we did this,
because the Scotch Bonnets, I think I bought. The fridge is full of them, but like it was like £2 for a big bucket of Scotch Bonnets.
Yes, it's a pound bucket.
Yeah, like mad. But the other thing, if you haven't had Scotch Bonnet before, that's really cool. It is super fruity.
Yeah,
and you forget it's like hibiscus, right? It's just a super interesting fruity characteristic that's something you wouldn't associate with fruit.
No, and that's why if you ever fermented them, made hot sauce out of them, they are. Scotch Bonnet hot sauce has obviously like punch in the face.
That bird's eye and what are the finger chilies?
The Thai ones. So I've heard them. The little green thin ones. Oh yeah, I can't remember.
They call them the Indian chilies.
I can't remember. But anyway, Scotch Bonnet. If you make a hot sauce out of them, say classic lactate fermented hot sauce, you obviously get the punch in the face. They're not soup. They are hot, but they're not crazy hot. But you get this fruity flavour coming out, which is amazing.
This went better than I could have ever expected. I was it's really hard to get those ratios right, like of the heat. So
what's that barrel?
Yeah, that's a different look. Anyway, that's what ozone's for. So it distracted me. So yeah, it turned out way better than I expected. To get the ratios of heat is always really scary.
It's kind of, I would say, a bit of a crapshoot, right? Like
you always undershoot, and then hopefully you can always add it. So I think I only put in maybe 8 or 9 Scotch Bonnets, and 6 of those were with seeds. So I wanted to get the characteristics of the sweetness.
You've got 8 or 9 Scotch Bonnets in that.
It's 100 odd litres.
No, as in that's not as much as
that's what I mean. Yeah,
nice warming back of the throat.
And I was sitting there still going like, it's only 9. Add some more. And I was like, I can add it later. And I'm lucky I don't want it any more spicy than what this is.
No, I wouldn't say. That's enough to notice that.
Yeah, and it just tickles in here. You can feel it when you breathe, but otherwise you pick a bit more of the mango up.
Like in a hip flask when you're on a nice cold walk in the winter.
It'll wake you up.
Yeah, definitely wake you up. Or the other one, like a Bloody Mary. No, there's just more people joining. I'm keeping a rough eye on that.
Something.
Ooh. Can't wait to try it. That was Ian.
Okay.
That was like 10 minutes ago.
Cool.
But yeah, I reckon a Bloody Mary. or something.
Because it's got the acid profile for a Bloody Mary, right?
So the other one I really want to try is a tomato mead. And I think that's going to be good. So clarified tomato water, that's what I'm going to do it with.
Yeah, because tomato for me is like cucumber and weirdly like strawberry, but really vegetal. And if you play with it the wrong way, you get because I love tomatoes. Don't get me wrong, but you use it the wrong way. You use it the wrong way, and you'll get the very vegetable characteristic. And if you remove the acid, you get the vegetable.
Well, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I'll do
I've
it.
spent all summer eating so many tomatoes. I think I had one meal a day, which was tomatoes on
So
toast.
what's the other one I want to do? Carrot and celery.
Celery.
Celery would be really cool.
Yeah. That is an interesting idea. So the classic 70s homebrew thing is parsnip or carrot wine.
Parsnips. See, I love parsnips now.
I like
roasted parsnips are probably
well.
one of my greatest changes in my diet. I eat a lot of roast vegetables now as just as part of my diet, and as soon as I put in parsnips, happy as Larry. I don't even need potatoes or anything. I can just eat a big
Cool.
box of
Roasted
roasted parsnips. Yeah, I'm using that in a lot of soups. My missus is Polish, and yeah, celeriac is in all soups.
Yeah.
You can't really find it here that much.
In season you can. Or, it's very middle class, but Waitrose do frozen celeriac chunks. You can just put in the freezer. There you go. Tom's top
I'll
tip.
never know.
I know, you'll never know. It's what's South East London, no Waitrose. Anyway. Sorry, so just to bring it back, the reason we're doing these tastings is because we're launching a small batch program.
Yes.
So that is really, really
The
fun.
earthiness is really cool. So I'm glad that we went chili, earthiness, a little bit of fruit.
Yeah.
Because I've always wanted to work with mushrooms in fermentation as well. I know the guys at it was Breakfast de Champignon.
Oh, wild beer again.
No, it wasn't wild beer. It was.
You sure?
Oh, your man studied in Germany at the East.
The yeast.
What's it called? Oh my god.
Yeah,
it'll come back to me.
yeah.
But they did a sour with mushrooms, and that sort of acidity against the earthiness was just something that I've never really tasted before. So that
Right. Where are we going next?
let's sweeten it up.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Or do you want to finish on that?
Let's finish on that. We'll finish on the coffee boucher. That's something a little bit special.
So this one is it's on our website at the moment.
Is the traditional on that?
It might not be.
Have a check.
I don't know how much we have of it left.
It was very popular, I remember that. So this is our single origin Hackney Gold. So this is
sacrilegious, but I'm just gonna.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm just gonna
So this is from a hive in Hackney. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, so I think this is from the Hackney Marshes.
Yeah.
So we got some honey.
Area
just at
northeast
the
of
end
London.
We got some honey towards the end of spring, going a little bit more into midsummer pick, I think.
So quite an early honey.
Yeah, still quite early, still quite light. And then this kind of is a little bit reminiscent of the vintage, which is kind of cool, right?
Yeah, so it's a similar area.
Similar area. It's a little bit closer to central, even though the Walthamstow is a little bit more northeast. But it has a similar characteristic, but a little bit more floral.
Yeah. So on the nose, it's quite creamy. Is that how I describe it? I don't know about you.
See, I love it. This is done with our house yeast as well, and as soon as I put my nose into there, should we say
9?
9. Oh, that was the we did a League Ridge Road,
Which was
so
7.
7. Yeah.
So they must have had another yeast to take it up, right?
No, this is pushing our
This is
house.
pushing our house yeast.
So usually I would say I don't run the house yeast past 7-8%.
Yeah.
And this is what
there's a
we do
sign
this.
up saying somewhere.
Yeah, it was on the front
Do
door.
not run the house yeast past 7%.
I want that sign now.
Just
so-
a picture of me.
Just stop.
Stop.
Okay, cool. Let's do that. Where was I?
You were talking about this was
running the house yeast. Yeah, so we pushed the house yeast past where I said that I would never do it. And just usually because we run a low yeast, quite warm as well, you get lots of these sort of, it just starts shooting off all these little phenols and producing quite a lot of high alcohols. And when you're doing the lower ABV stuff, that's not what you want. But when you're jumping up a little bit higher, if you're going to let it age out, that sort of helps a little bit. But as soon as it gets to 8, it really stresses. And it's not necessarily stresses with the alcohol, it also stresses with the sugar content of, being able to go up to 9%.
Right.
Because it's used...
Well, you're starting with so much sugar that it just gets a bit...
Yeah, it's is it osmotic pressure?
Yeah, what was osmotic pressure? Oh, that's...
Mate,
chemistry.
that's it, we're there. So, we pushed it up, which means that we really had to be careful about how much, how well we treated it. So we didn't oxygenate, but we definitely just really pushed out that CO2. So just constantly just move the barrel, to get that CO2 to come out, just allow it to have a little bit less stress as well, because CO2 puts stress on fermentation especially when you're going higher up in your ABV. So we pushed the house yeast as far as it would go. So this is a finishing grab of about 10-20, which I was kind of hoping to get it to 10%, but the yeast, of course, has it couldn't get it. Yeah, and I think it was end up being like maybe a 4 or 5 week fermentation.
Yeah, so a long fermentation by our standards. Anyway.
Yeah, like usually this yeast will go up to 6% in 10 days, and that last 3%
is where
it took nearly a month.
Yeah,
and so it's a little bit sweeter, which is kind of cool, but it's also...
It is sweeter, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's cloyingly sweet. So we've gone from some really dry stuff, through, and this is not...
No, this is still...
And this for me is it's got that classic Gosnells flavour. I don't know what it's the house
yeast, right? It's 100%. That
bangs through, and you're like, oh yeah, this reminds me of everything.
It's fun. It's a little lighter. It's got it's got a little bit of beeriness to it. It's also got a little bit of cider characteristic with the pear coming through, and the apple in the background, and then it's got a little bit of the best thing about the house yeast is it really captures the honey.
Yeah, it does.
And it just allows that to be, when you put your nose into it, you're like, oh yeah, cool, this is honey.
Yeah.
Right? Exactly. And that's kind of what we want to do with it.
I think that's why I chose it in the first place, right? That was one of the yeast selections, that was kind of why we arrived at that house yeast. And for me, I've just only realised there is a real house style. Right? There's a real thing lining.
The Mead of the Month range was so cool for that. Yeah. Because we weren't trying to change up the fermentation, we weren't trying to do weird wonderfuls, we were really trying to show how if you hold the fermentation constant and then vary the honey. Science. Yeah, just one variable, and you'll actually get an outcome. But that was really cool. And of course, when you look at it, we played with the ABV, and that's generally to do with the honey itself. So, like the acacia, for example, was it's quite a simple honey. It's quite sugar forward. It's a little creamy, a little simple. So we added the longer flavour profile of raising the alcohol. Where we had something like Saffron Walden, which is a big round honey, we stuck at 5-6%. Okay, that there can stand up to this. And same as this, we left the residual sweetness because it needs a characteristic of the honey to go in there as well.
That's pretty cool. What other projects have you got on the go? What's the next big thing, Will?
So,
apart from my tomato meat and your salad.
yeah. Which is priority number one.
Well, it's not tomato season anymore. I think we might have to wait till next year.
We've got vintage coming up.
We have vintage coming up.
So that's probably priority number one now. So the vintage we kind of do in a 2-step fermentation. It takes about 35 days start to finish. We take the honey from the same hives each year. We do the fermentation the same way. So it's kind of going back to the Mead month where we really want to show the terroir of the honey each year.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to do it again this year. Last year was the honey was a little bit more like the Hackney here, a little bit lighter, a little bit more floral. The year before was a little bit more fruity, a little more tropical, a little rounder. This year I haven't got the honey yet, but as soon as that comes in,
bang on it. Yeah.
Just I'm excited. But other than that, first batch of the small batch program.
Yeah.
That's
exciting. Yeah, the first thing to put in a can. The first small batch.
Yeah, I haven't decided. There's two, right?
Yeah, so, yeah, so.
Yeah, we don't know. But we'll figure it out. Yeah, guys, if you've got any questions, jump up. How long have we been doing this? 40 minutes.
Oh, we have been chatting for a little while.
These get out of hand.
Yeah, these do get out of hand. We'll just taste through the boucher. Guys, if you have any questions or any thoughts, or if you're watching this back and you want to send us an email, my email address is tom@gosnells.co.uk.
We also have a podcast email, don't we?
Which is podcast@gosnells.co.uk. Don't everything is
Classic.
But
we're good at naming things.
probably best to email me, and at least I'll definitely get
Actually,
it.
no, I never realised, but we are really good at naming things. Like we've got a Plum traditional, which is Plum, and our traditional. We've got a Hackney.
Yeah, so I think.
Why is that?
Why is that? Because we're all about educating and expanding the category. So if we called this like Dave's Super Brew Special, whatever witty name we come up with.
This is why we don't come up with names, right?
Yeah, well that's half of it. But the other half is like Ron Seal needs to do what it says on the tin.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And this is about, for us, our mission is about obviously reflecting the terroir of the honey and bringing that to life. And it needs to be descriptive. If you call it something like, I don't know, something else, it kind of gets in the way of what we're trying to do.
Especially in our category, right? Like, we have enough trouble educating people on how
what mead is
and how you make it and what it does. So as soon as we start weirdly naming stuff, it might as well.
Yeah, might as well. Anyway, this is the coffee boucher.
So I was just having a look at which blend this was, because this seems to be coming out. So this is batch 3. So we did some trials on the boucher, took it out. We've got a roastery, Old Spike roastery, in the same industrial estate as us. So I grabbed 2 coffees from them, which was, oh god, they're going to hate me for this. One was a pulp natural, which is a fermented skin-on fermented coffee. And then we did a natural wash, which is but they hit it with water, because coffee is like a bean with like a coating on the outside of flesh, and then you remove that through fermentation. So it doesn't matter which way you sort of go, and it goes through a fermentation process anyway. But a pulp natural is leaving the skin on, allowing that to almost rot off during fermentation, and then a wash is they hit it with water, and that knocks the casing out, which gives it 2 different things. So as soon as you ferment it, you get a lot of those sort of more fermentation characteristics coming through. When you wash it, you get a bit more of the coffee. So we went 2 of those. We did 3 batches, which was one with the straight pulp natural, the other one was the straight wash coffee, and then the third one was a blend of the 2. And this one is a blend of the 2.
Right.
So I think we didn't really like the pulp natural. It was a little bit too much character.
I remember doing tasting. I can't remember what the detail. There was 1, 2, and 3. That's
yeah.
But yeah.
And then the second one we quite liked. So it smelled like coffee. And I think that's kind of going back to what we were just talking about, putting coffee on the label, like coffee on the nose.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely do. But this is the blend of the 2, so you get a little bit of both. You get a little bit of the complexity of the coffee with those sort of coffee characteristics that you know and love, plus the boucher underneath, which, by the way, like, this is a barrel fermented boucher.
So boucher, for those who are not massive mead geeks, is a caramelised honey. So we caramelise the honey first, and then you brew that. It just gives this kind of dark complexity, which is awesome.
And for the bigger nerds, when you caramelise, you also create longer chain sugars that are unfermentable.
Yeah.
And you also create some other compounds outside of that create flavour profiles as well. So the caramelisation is a really cool process. So we actually don't caramelise 100% of our honey. We do 50% caramelised, and then we brew it with 50% that isn't caramelised.
Not a lot of people know that.
So there's a little tidbit you can tell your friends.
What are we getting on this then, Will?
So the first is the coffee has dropped off a lot. In the last 2 weeks, the coffee's really sat more in the body than it has on the nose. It's still there, but the coffee is there as a tasting note of the boucher itself.
Yeah, see, I'm getting those caramel notes a lot more forward than they were previously.
The caramels come right up, right?
So yeah,
it's
not sweet. So when I say caramel, everyone is obviously going to think, oh, it's super sweet. This isn't super sweet. This is more.
No, this is the new. So if you've had our boucher before, when we did it last year, because it takes about 12 months to produce, it was almost twice as sweet as this. So this year I decided that we wanted to just drop that right down to see what happens if we lift the acid up and drop the sugar right down. So this is actually pretty neutral. I don't know what to equivalent it to.
I mean, it's mead, it's honey, you get the caramel, it's not sweet. So if you were looking at a range, it's somewhere between these two, the traditional and the happy.
Yeah, that's it. But, like if you've had our cans and some of our, if you've ever had the tasting bundle before, it's right in the middle of the cans and the barrel age, or the specialised meads that's in there, which we always do as a dry mead. It's just right in that middle ground. But the perception of sweetness is a lot higher.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool. So yes, so the idea behind this tasting is just to show what we're up to, and then we're gonna bang some of these in cans, which we're really excited about. So get involved and get on our crowdfunder and support us and subscribe to our cans. And we'll be doing this sort of tasting every week. But for you guys, if you subscribe, we'll do a special in-depth behind the scenes.
Yeah. So we talk about the crowdfunder as just being getting cans delivered to your door. It's also creating a community in the UK for mead makers.
This is really important.
So I'm a professional mead maker. I guess I can claim that hat. But
I think most days, I would say.
Yeah. Cool. So there's not as much community as there should be in the UK. So most of the stuff that I sort of talk to people on forums and all that are usually American based.
Yeah.
And I think there should be, there's some heritage here, and there's some real beautiful beekeepers here, and all these sorts of things that we all try to elevate what we do. And I think, a good UK base
for support that. Exactly. Yeah. So get to get involved. What are we up to tonight? Well, we're like Bert and Ernie. We're going to go ahead tonight, right? No, I'm joking. But so I'm off to Voodoo-Ray's after this to drop in some bits and bobs and have a slice of pizza. You been to Voodoo-Ray's? Voodoo-Ray's is a pizza.
I've been to Voodoo-Ray's in Shoreditch, I think, quite a long time.
So I got takeaway pizza the other day, and I couldn't fit it through my door, which was always so big.
They've got. I used to like the idea of it's like the Italian idea of like buying one giant slice. That's like you go to anywhere else, like you get that one slice is equivalent to their pizza.
Yeah,
and it's just I quite like the.
I can't remember, but it genuinely didn't fit through the door, and you're like, oh, that's interesting.
But yeah, there's one in Peckham as well.
There's one in Peckham. Well, I mean, you can buy our mead and a slice. There you go.
Can't go wrong.
Dropping in that, and I think we could pop around the corner to Funky Dory afterwards.
So Funky Dory is a cool place now. So
I've been there in a while.
So Sergio there is just like an amazing human being, but awesome cocktail maker. But now they have like their own little store as well. They sell our stuff. They sell some natural wine. They sell some local beers. They sell records as well, which is dear to my heart. So if you're ever around that area, go to Funky Dory's and sit there, have a drink, and just listen to music.
Box.
It's okay, cool.
No, I'm just saying this idea.
100%. I don't care. Go nuts, but
it's been a long day. Let's not get tired and emotional.
I know, but I just don't label them wrong. It's just a really nice place.
That wasn't naming that. Yeah. So out of the ones we tasted tonight,
what's going to be our finish up?
Well, we finished everything. Well, maybe we'll have one more. But what would you go for?
Yeah, so that's that was our finishing drink. The mango and Scotch Bonnet. That was just really fun. It probably, if I was to go for something I was actually just wanted to have a drink, I'd probably go back to the Hackney.
Yeah, I think that's where I was going to go, just because it's the horses.
But the reason I got for this is it's so cool. Like I'm just so happy with this.
It's really cool because it's that balance of flavors, right?
It's just really surprised me that it's the mango. You could almost just go, it's not mango, it's just some kind of tropical fruit. But it's a Scotch bonnet that is just like the
just lifts it.
It's just something else.
There we go. So guys, Brick Brewery joined, local boys and girls. We are going to be doing this every Friday. We're going to do a different tasting, have some guests on, and just have some fun. I think for us it's really important just to chat about what we've been doing each week, because it's easy to forget quite how much we fucking do each week.
Especially now, you kind of just bring your head down, get everything you get to, and it's not the same as going and chat to your mates and you just sort of forget how interesting your job actually is.
Yeah,
People actually like what you're saying instead of going like, oh, I don't want to
I was
do
in the
that.
pub the other night, and they were like, I was like, oh, I'm doing this now. Oh, I'm sorry, I'll stop talking to you. And they're like, no, like, I do spreadsheets.
You talk about work all the time, right? And then sometimes I go to my friends and they're like, oh, you know, I was like, you don't have to do the niceties, like, I don't know.
It's fine.
But yeah, people actually find our job quite interesting. So
Anyway, thanks a lot, guys. We'll
See
call
you.
it that.
Last thing,
What?
cheers.
Cheers.